No,
So-
we should actually find a place to start from here.
So we're live. You wanna? Yeah.
What do you mean? That was it. That was it. He blew
We're done.
this.
It's a wrap.
He blew this for you. Gabe comes in. Great job coming in, introducing Capital Title
Our sponsor.
for today's show. And also because we're sitting in here in the associates with the man, the legend,
Oh boy.
the mayor, Jeff Cheney. Jeff Cheney, you're a guy that spins more plates than I've ever eaten from at the exact same time, seamlessly. And you still go back for seconds.
You know, there's a lot of broken plates back in the kitchen. You just don't see them. I try not to let you see them. So
I like that. So Mayor of Frisco, that's the easy one. Everyone wants to talk about that, right? Let's talk about the broken plates.
yeah.
Because we have a fair share of wobbled broken plates that we just kind of sweep right under the bed. Talk to me about a time that you remember breaking a plate.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. How long is this show?
Long enough.
You know, the first one that came to mind is actually a mayor broken plate, which happened during the pandemic. And so, like literally right at the height of it, this was back in March or April when everybody was freaking out. You know, people were supposed to be in their homes, stay-at-home orders, do not leave, children cannot be on playgrounds, don't look at each other, don't do anything. And we started getting call after call after call from residents tattletaling on their neighbors. So little Johnny, my next door neighbor, was at the park. He's not supposed to be at the park. Are you going to send the police out? I mean, literally, we were getting hundreds of calls a day from tattletales in Frisco. It was unbelievable, to the point where our emergency responders couldn't even respond to the calls. I mean, it was like flooding our emergency response team. And so we had to figure it out.
How long did that go on for?
Oh, it was going on for weeks.
Imagine that. You get in a car accident, bleeding. You call them, and they go, "No, Johnny is on the playground. I got to go get him. You're next, probably."
I mean, it was like nothing I've ever seen. People were, you know, when people were playing golf, people were mad at the golfers. Why are they out there? I mean, it was unbelievable. And so,
Bunch of narcs. City of narcs.
so it was actually my wife's idea, and I thought it was brilliant at the time, which was we already have a My Frisco app where you can log event. If you see a pothole, if you see, you know, something wrong with the city, you know, there's a line broken. I mean, it's just been an awesome tool the city has for our residents to be our eyes and ears. And the great part about it is that it routes the issue to the right department, and the right person creates a ticket, gets it closed, everybody wins. So she was like, why don't you just use the My Frisco app for these reports? Then it can be routed to somebody that just responds, we're not sending the police out, and it frees up our emergency response team. I was like, brilliant idea, let's do it. We throw it to city staff. They're like, great idea. They get our IT team. They turn it in like 24 hours. We do this announcement. We're heroes. We're amazing. Look at what we're doing. And it failed miserably. And so social media just took it over. They started calling us Nazis, and it started going viral. Literally, you could feel it like across the country. We're getting people from other states calling us, news organizations
From other states?
Yeah, that basically
I saw this on the Frisco app. I was going to report a cat. I'm in Oklahoma City, but then I saw this. You're Nazis.
So they were angry because you weren't directly responding to their message? You thought that they just thought you were tossing it to the side?
No, quite the opposite. So they were mad because they thought we were asking people to tattletale on their neighbors. That we want you, if you see your neighbor's child playing on the playground, we want you to tell us so that we can go take care of it. That's, you know, we were trying to deliver one message, right? And the message that was received was something far different. And so that's where politicians, I mean, I got from senators from other states that have never heard of Frisco sending me messages like, what are y'all doing there? And And so we had to pivot fast. I mean, we only had it up for, I think, 4 hours. And that's how fast it spread virally. I mean, the things that, go back and look at my Twitter feed over that. I mean, the things that I was called was unbelievable. I basically said, okay, the team, I've got to suck this one up and go out there. And I issued an apology on it saying, hey, was not the intent. And then that did quietly dissipate it. But, you know, Texas Monthly ended up writing an article about it months later about how just crazy people were during the pandemic. And that was more than a single broken plate on that one. I think I burned down the kitchen with that.
Whoa, way to go, Dana.
I still tell her, because she'll listen to this. She'll be like, really? Why do you touch? But I was like, it really was a good idea. We just didn't deliver the message right.
So that gets to messaging and the importance in branding and that creation. So do you believe that the idea could have worked had the message been different?
Absolutely. I mean, we should have delivered it differently. And that's such a big thing that I've learned, you know, life lesson from businesses and mayor, is just how quick the message can get away from you. And just how much you don't realize sometimes the message that you're intending to send is not the one that is received. And so we're usually really good about that as, you know, a business, as a city, but you don't always get it right. So you have to, you know, always learn from those mistakes.
Wow. Yeah, that is incredible. And especially in as divisive as this time is, that's a question, and I'll back up after that. But the question that I have is, how do you wake up and stay enthused? Now it's widely known that you're very widely accepted and very popular and
not a Nazi.
Yes.
But when you have a certain percentage of people that are just going to call you a Nazi just because, how do you wake up and stay excited being in a position where someone is going to not like what you have to say, regardless of anything? They're just going to find that.
Yeah. You know, the one thing that this last year has taught me certainly is it's created a hardened shell. Because if you just think back throughout this year, it's hard to even imagine, you know, dealing with all the COVID issues, you know, that was ongoing. There's a different issue every single day. Obviously, we had some of the racial protests and the marching, and you know, I think the city did a really good job with that as far as how we handled that.
And if I may just hop in and just second that, I believe absolutely, because with the leadership there, going down El Dorado, I was taking my daughter to swimming. And you guys were walking down the other way, and I watched you guys walk down, and I mean, you're all sons of bitches because you cut me off and I couldn't go drop Alessia at swim school. But when I was going, because you led it in such an actionable way, there were people walking by, and I got to explain to my daughter what it meant. Why are these people here? Well, they're here to make sure everybody's treated the same. And she was giving high fives out the window. I mean, so kudos to you guys of understanding this serious challenge and pivoting and leading by example.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that one was interesting because how the day unfolded was I was getting messages early in the morning because people had said that bricks had been dropped off in the community, and there were pictures of these bricks, and that was kind of the rumors that people were going to be picking up bricks and throwing them. And, you know, we later found out that was for an HOA fence repair, you know, but people just jumped to these assumptions. And we had an emergency meeting around lunch. I'll never forget it. We were opening the Hyatt Regency at Stonebriar Mall. So we just did that opening. They brought us to a private room so we could discuss how we were going to handle it. And then I just turned to Chief and I said, Chief, you and I need to walk in it. And am I going to be safe if we do it? And he was like, we'll make sure you're safe. We'll have a plan in place. And literally, I left my house, I think at like 4:00, and it was like the first time that I could tell Dana was really scared, you know, and I was a little scared too because I didn't know what I was walking into. And Chief picked me up. We were driving down there, and then I see the crowd. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, Chief, what is the plan if things go sideways? And he goes, we already have a plan. So there's going to be 4 police officers on bikes, and if things go sideways, and they're going to be not visible, people aren't going to be aware that they're there, but they're going to have eyes on you the whole time, and Chief Shilson the whole time. And then we're going to have lots of other police officers kind of out of sight, just making sure this event goes well. And if things go sideways, one of them will give you their bike and they will escort you out of it. That was the plan.
So he's ripping down it in a 21 speed, buzzing away, trying to figure out how to get away for these guys as they're chucking.
So how big was the crowd?
Thousands of people.
And there was 4 cops for the thousands or for you?
No, that were kind of staying with this main group that had me, it had Chief Shilson, it had some other people as well, city staff and so forth that were and they were riding along to make sure it stayed safe. But then they had other police officers in other places. But we walked up and immediately I felt at ease. I could feel the energy of the crowd. Okay, I was like, okay, this is a positive thing that's happening here. So within minutes, we knew it was going to be just fine. And, I think that one was a great lead in to your original question, which is, kind of how we deal with this is that, I have to be positive. We have to bring the positive out of everything. And that's been the challenge with this year is so many people are in just negative mindsets. You've had, your job isn't going well. You may have lost your job. Your business may be suffering. You're staying at home. There's been a lot of suffering, and that's ramped up anxiety. It's ramped up division with the political climate. And so there's just all this angst. And so I just have to look at it every day, and I'm the leader of Frisco. And so I know all eyes are on me, and I just have to stay positive. And if at least I can stay positive, make sure our organization stays positive, then I think people will feed off that energy. And I think that's happened.
Mm-hmm. I think you're exactly right. And so that is basically current day. And you've built this quiver of wisdom of different weapons that you can pull out during these moments where you just go, oh, well, it feels so natural. Of course, stay positive, but that's a much different thing to do. So I'd like to almost step back and see a little bit more of your story. Where did it start? When did you have a shitty employer that you gave them the right there, Fred, to, or did you always create your own path?
It's interesting how I've gotten here. I've always been the type that, I just kind of, like you said, create their own path. I kind of just follow where the road takes me. I never know where it's going to go. And so, I started, my career as a CPA at Price Waterhouse, and it was soul sucking because they're a great organization, but, me auditing financial statements wasn't something I wanted to do my entire life. And then I went to go work for a hedge fund, in my mid-20s, and, that was working 70, 80 hours a week. In fact, Dana brought it up in a meeting we had this morning that she remembered I would leave at 5 a.m. and get home at 11 at night, and she never saw me. And then, now we've worked together for the last 20 years, so I think she sees me more than she wants to. But, you've heard me tell this story before, but I'm sure your listeners haven't. I would love telling the story of I did something really crazy every time we had a baby. And so I know how old my business is because when Zach was born, and he's 18 now and about to go off to college, that's when I decided that week in the hospital that I no longer wanted to live the life of working the 70-hour weeks at a hedge fund. And I quit, and I went to go start my own real estate business. I don't know who does that with a 1-week-old baby at home, but I did.
Yeah, almost no one.
Yeah. And, Dana's always been obviously super supportive. She actually went back to work after maternity, to kind of help us get it going. So she made that sacrifice so I could start, the business, and then it started taking off, and then she was able to come home and help with it within a year, I think. And then when Mason was born, who is now 16, we took our life savings to buy a social media site called Frisco Online. And this was actually social media before MySpace, believe it or not. Like, it was social media before social media existed. This would have been 2000 and I think we bought it in 2004. And so, MySpace didn't even exist at this point. So it was a message forum for the city of Frisco. And at one point, it was the only place people would talk. We got 4 million page views one month. I had the Dallas Morning News contacting me, like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you getting, and just everyone came on this message board and, used it to speak to people. But when I bought it, I remember I I bought it for $20,000. The problem is I didn't have $20,000. And so I signed a contract, stating that you give me a year to pay that off, and they agreed to it. And so we just had someone come in and start doing ad sales, and we ended up paying it off. She did so well selling ads on it, we paid it off, I think, in 4 months.
Wow.
And then it kind of took off from there, really propelled our real estate business. I joke that Dana and I, when we would go celebrate at the time, we would go to Outback Steakhouse. That was our big place. Like big wins, we're going to go get a dinner at Outback.
Bloomin' Onion, baby.
That's right. The works, dessert and everything. And that night when we sealed the deal for Frisco Online, I'll never forget, we're sitting there and I'm like, Dana, this is either the smartest thing I've ever done or the dumbest thing I've ever done. I'm not sure which yet. And it ended up being one of the biggest changes in our life that we had taken that risk. And that really kind of propelled me and kind of created our name in Frisco, and we became well known, and that enabled me to run for city council. And so when Caitlin was born, that's in 2007, that's when I decided that week, literally in the hospital, I think this is the perfect time for me to run for city council. With our third baby just being born. So Caitlin was born in January, and I filed the end of January right then to run, and we were successful and able to win. And then I just started loving the job. I love, all my kind of hats come together, from, being a guy in real estate, then being a leader in a community that was really a blank canvas where I was able to create and use my gifts of real estate and understanding it to build an entire city and urban planning and so forth. And,
let's say somebody, from those who are maybe new business owners, for me, the city council, I'm pretty sure they go up there and say, yeah, I like this. No, I don't like that. Get out of here. I don't like you. That sort of deal. That's why you should vote on them because you should like them. But how important is it for new business owners, existing business owners, to get to know the city council and be a part of that? Like, did you see that from an experience of some people that were really connected with you at the beginning, where they blossomed to, and being able to know that information?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of reasons. Just depends on business type, certainly. But, being well connected, I've always been a believer in that as far as how we've grown every single business, is kind of creating that sense of community, being active in the community, being a part of it, just like you guys are with Go Local and Industrial Cigar and all that. You just want to be a fabric of the community, and getting to know the leaders of that community is a big part of it. And then a lot of times the leaders, city council, are great connectors. And so, you and I have kind of done that in the past, where we get the opportunity to meet a lot of different people. And if I know you as a person or a business, then there's a better chance that one day I'll be like, you know what? I just met this person and they need to talk to the person I met 3 weeks ago. I think they can really collaborate and do something special together. And so those opportunities really exist. And then some businesses, they need the support of council, whether it's from incentives, whether it's from zoning, whether it's whatever issue needs to be solved. So, absolutely, I think business owners should be, a big part of the community that they serve.
Did you have any interest in politics or getting into that before you bought the Frisco Online, or?
No, I was, in fact, Dana loves politics. I'm getting more into it now, as I'm getting older. But, back at the time that I ran for city council, I was not into politics at all. And we had no idea how to run a campaign. We'd never been part of a campaign, never really had any interest. I just knew that I was sitting in the audience listening to meetings and, because I wanted to know for my real estate business, that's my job. I need to know what's going on, what's happening. And then sitting in the audience is not something that I like to do. So eventually I'm going to want to go sit behind the dais.
Wasn't there like a toilet paper story?
Oh my God. Wow,
Hang
you
on,
have a good memory.
There was a toilet paper story.
Yeah. And that's before you bought Frisco Online, I think.
Oh, you just fact checked me. Okay.
Hang on.
I can't remember what I'm fabricating in my mind, but something about you. Did you run as like a middle schooler or something?
So
that's right. You
wow.
are full of shit.
Great. Dang it. Can't get anything past you guys. So yes, you were right. In 8th grade, my political career actually did get started. and I ran for student council president. I don't know if I intended to win, but I was a guy that actually was pretty funny, and I like to be a little practical joker. And so my big campaign promise at the time, which was a real problem that needed to be solved, and I was like, you know what, I'm the guy to solve this one, which was our school district did not invest in rolls of toilet paper. It was the individual sheets, like you're pulling out Kleenex. I mean, it was just, it's totally unacceptable, really.
I agree.
Third world living right there. I mean, I just couldn't let it happen anymore. So I got up in front of the whole school and delivered, probably still to this date, my most powerful speech. I mean,
there's no video of that.
No, I don't think video
that was
existed.
before. Before video.
Can you recreate it? We have a video camera right now.
But if you ask, it's so funny because people on my Facebook that went to middle school, they still joke about it. But yes, everyone laughed, everyone cried. I mean, it was really, really a powerful message that my job, if I was elected president, was I was going to make the school district invest in toilet paper rolls. And overwhelming, everyone went crazy. People were chanting my name in the halls. I think maybe I remember them kind of carrying me through the cafeteria with this idea. It's a little foggy, but I won. And so I was elected president, and then I was like, oh no, now I have to deliver on this. And it actually created such a stir in the community. Like, it made the newspaper. The whole school board heard about it. Like, it became a thing. And I'll be darned if within a month they delivered toilet paper rolls, and the rest is history, and so.
Wow. Congratulations.
Promises made, promises kept.
Which takes you all the way to 2017, your first time you win mayor, and go, oh boy, I got the driver's seat now.
Yeah.
Got to do this now.
Yeah.
Well, this being the Go Local podcast, maybe we talk about our relationship together because, we've been working with you for a long time. You kind of helped us. I mean, we owe you a lot from just helping us get ingrained in the community and a lot of the connections that we've made. And
that's one of my favorite, probably most nostalgic moments was I was meeting with Ashley Miller over at World Peace Factory. I don't know if that's still a place.
I know. I remember that. Second floor, yeah.
Yeah, she said, hey, there's a guy who's running for mayor. You want to stay after? And I thought, I'll sit for a little bit. Let's see what this is about.
He probably was really thinking, like, I don't know if I need to meet this dickweed right now. That sounds more of like Brandon's mindset.
Yes, that's exactly. Okay, yeah, all right. He's going to win. He's going to be a mayor, huh?
I got to ride my bike. I don't have time to talk to this dickweed.
How do you do a Brandon impression?
Come on.
Yeah, but I'm sitting there, and then you come in, and I meet you and Dana, and it's probably the first time I met Ashley as well, and we're sitting there, and I thought, all right, if there's any value that I have, it's just by being quiet here and grabbing something. And it was such an immediate connection. In that moment, I realized it's not really what you do. It's who you're working with that makes a big deal, and just finding that gel. And that was a really cool thing. And that started the beginning of many things with us.
Yeah. I mean, our paths have been intertwined quite a bit, and going back to the original point, as far as how do you tell a story and how do you get messaging across, especially like in a political campaign where you don't even get a 30-second commercial in many chances. Sometimes people form an opinion just by looking at a picture at you, or 3 bullet points, and so, I mean, I tell people even to this day that if you and I hadn't met, I don't think I would be mayor, because Go Local did such an amazing job with, my messaging and my, just all the work, the video, people still talk about those videos, and, that my campaign for mayor is the gold standard of local campaigns. And so, when I started the campaign, if they did polling, I'd say I was behind in the polling. I got started really, really late, and, didn't end behind in the polling. So thank you for your work, as far as being thankful. I think it's definitely a two-way street.
Well, I think it was a number of things, and we did a little bit of everything from website to the videos. I think were probably the coolest, and we can talk about those, but the messaging and how important that is. Mm-hmm. There was only one instance where I think someone on the team or someone had this idea where they would get suckered in to play the back and forth. And I think I went with you and said, if this is a direction, I don't think this is gonna work. You said, absolutely right. No, we're staying above board. So to see a political in today's age, that's the gold standard, is your messaging, your character, what you do. I think that was.
No, y'all were great being kind of that sounding board for me as well, just because it's easy when you're in the throes of battle, so to speak. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said that about me. And you always want to be like, well, I want to punch back, and you're always good about, no, remember what you told us that first meeting? You're like, okay, you're right. That's not what we're going to do. And we're just going to continue to march forward. So,
yeah, you remember that, doing all those videos and creating the park bench series and that Why I Love Frisco.
That just the intro video or the announcement video that we did, that gave me chills the first time we watched that. The way that logo sting came in at the end as you're walking out.
That's right. The kickoff from the event itself.
It just brought such a refreshed look at it, and I think that's kind of why people were excited about it. 'Cause it's like, it's 2017. It's time to get going on this.
No. Well, I'm excited when I'm finally done being mayor to see the outtakes video that y'all create, because I know you have a lot of good content. And I also know that I always have to be nice to you guys because you've got a lot of behind the scenes content.
Yeah, we have so much money worth. Like Capital Title, today's sponsor, if you want to see a reel, it's going to be about $100,000. No, we do have, I can't wait to make, maybe that would be a good blooper reel as you take off as your thanks to Frisco, because we have a number of things that are in there. It'd be a lot of beeping through there, but I think that we should do something like that.
So what's after mayor? What's your idea with that?
Again, it's, I don't have any definite plan. I mean, it's kind of where the path takes me. Like I told y'all earlier today, I just bought a yoga studio with my sister, and if you would have asked me 2 months ago about that, I would have laughed, and here we are. I don't think I'll do anything political. I don't love the politics side of politics. I love strategic planning. I love making these big decisions, long range planning. So I think I'll kind of move on to, I'd love to serve on boards of companies, or if there was like an appointed position that I could help out or help with economic development or urban planning, those types of things. That's probably where I'll head. I'll always stay involved with something in Frisco, but as far as people are like, are you going to run for state house? Are you going to run for Congress? And no way.
But that's what we need, right? We need more politicians that have a life to live after they create it. You've helped create the fabric of what will be Frisco for forever. And then once that's there, well, you've created it the way you want to live in it and grow businesses and grow your family and do that. Well, might as well just do it instead of working your way up. So then you have to go live in Austin and then go to DC and then become one of the people who we're fighting against essentially, or who we're not in the same ballpark with. But that's a huge kudos to you of just saying, all right, job's done, on to the next. And speaking of your newest venture with Hot Body Yoga, this is something that I do relate with, but don't relate with, which is owning a business with your family, owning a business with not only your wife, but also your sister. So how the hell do you do that?
In multiple businesses with your wife.
Right.
And I think we're legally still kind of partners, right?
I think so.
According to that email that we got the other day.
Yeah, sounds like. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we own a business
Kudos for
together.
us.
Yeah, good for us. I hope that's not disrespectful to say, because we did some cool stuff.
You guys know it. I mean, you want to work around people that you like, and when you get to work with people that you love, that's even better. And so I think it's super cool to help my sister kind of realize this dream of hers. And my older sisters are involved too, and it's bringing all their skill sets in. I mean, to help with branding and all kinds of things. And it's become kind of a little family project that you said, how do you stay energized? Like, it's completely kind of re-energized me, as far as, hey, here's a new mountain to climb and a new challenge. Am I an expert on how a yoga studio should be run? No, I've been a student of one for a long time, but I'm going to have a lot of fun learning how one should be run. So we'll have a good time with it, and I think it helps with those family connections. Certainly, I mean, you go in the cigar shop and see family, and it's not work, right?
Mm-hmm. It definitely makes it easier, and especially if you guys are on the same page of what that end goal is, or at least finding that, it's much easier. Because as the oldest brother, it's not my job to be the nice guy. It's my job to keep us online and keep us heading toward that North Star. And having that, I think, lacking that is the downfall of many businesses, family-owned businesses. But you know how to create a team, and you know how to create an organization. And I think that's where many people who are listening to this, who have started, and even us as we're trying to scale up, it's how do you take it? Let's take it from Cheney Group perspective. You go from yourself, Dana and yourself, to maybe your first person, but then you get to that point. How do you identify it's time to grow? Here's how I'm going to grow, and then scale it to an organization, because it seems like that's kind of your mission, is get those people, create that, and then just replicate that. The rest is just food on the plate.
Yeah, it's funny because the thing I hear most often, and you kind of even brought it up in the opening, you have so many plates spinning, is how do you manage it all? How do you have time for, all these different things? And, to be honest, I have lots of time. And I know at one point you told me, you were like, I want to, when y'all were growing rapidly, come in and pick your brain about how you do it. And if you remember, I told you, I'm going to teach you one word, concept of one word, and it starts with an L. And you were just losing your mind. You couldn't figure it out. You're texting me guesses. Is it laughing?
Lesbians?
Yeah.
that was one.
Laughter. Is it living? What is this damn word that starts with an L? And then I think I finally told you, which is the concept of leverage, which is, building a team, all these concepts of finding the right people and then putting them in the right seats, and then just getting out of their way. And I think that's the biggest mistake that, people make as far as when they're trying to grow an organization, especially when you started as a single person, is that you feel like I need to control everything. I know how to do this part of the job better than anybody, and this part of the job has to be done my way. And if you look at it from that mindset, you'll never grow. That you have to find someone that you trust to do this part of the business, and then trust that they're actually going to eventually do it better than you, or find someone that actually does it better than you. And then kind of once you start learning that concept, then you're like, I remember the first time, in real estate, I used to take my own pictures. And I had a big fancy camera, and I thought I had started getting pretty good at it. I even showed up with my own stepladder so I could get some nice little vertical shots, and pretty proud of it. Did it for years. And then one day I was just too busy to take my own pictures. I was like, okay, I'll hire a professional to do it. And then I saw the results. I'm like, this is way better than my work. And that was the last time I ever took pictures of my own house. And that was like light bulb moment. And so I have mastered the concept of leverage. Even to the point of day-to-day routines. And I'll give you examples. Not everybody can do this, but if you're an entrepreneur and you want to expand your time, you should. That any activity, you have to figure out what you're worth per hour. So say, if I'm out doing positive things for my business, if I feel like I can generate, $100 an hour or $500 an hour, whatever your business is, you need to think about that. And any activity that you can pay someone less than that, you should. So if I'm the business owner of the Cheney Group and I'm in here doing work that I can pay somebody $20 an hour to do, I should do it every single time. Well, we do that with our lives too. My wife hates to fold laundry. She hates laundry. And it would take 4 hours out of her week to do it. And then we found someone that would come in and fold our laundry and put it away for $60 a week. And that freed up 4 hours of her time that she could go network, she could go do other things, and it helped grow the business. And so I'm always looking at every little minute detail of my life and saying, how can I outsource the things that I don't like to do? I don't like to mow the lawn. I'm not going to mow my lawn. And now that gives me the potential to use my time growing my business, spending time with my family, doing my hobbies such as Mayor, doing all the things that I want to do. And so few people struggle with that concept because, especially when they're a young business, maybe not even profitable, you're so focused on the expense line items, saying, oh my gosh, I can't bring in, that was the scariest thing I ever did as a business owner, was hiring my first employee. I was like, I didn't make enough yet to hire my first employee. I was like, oh my gosh, she's made $35,000 a year. That's going to cut into my, like, all my profitability. How am I going to do it? And I just finally did it. And then within 2 weeks, I realized, oh my gosh, I should have done this 2 years ago. And the first year I hired that first employee, I think I tripled my revenues. And then, we continued to just grow it from there. And so,
how often are you taking these outsourced items and evaluating their value and their return to your life, to your bottom line, to whatever that may be, just to make sure? There are a lot of people out there. There are not nearly as many good people out there. And just meaning that perfect fit for it. How often are you reevaluating the way you're outsourcing your life?
I would say the things I've learned over the years is that I'm comfortable with my unique gifts that make me unique, the things that I'm the best at. And so when it comes to real estate, I'm the best at negotiating deals and doing contracts, doing it every day. I love to do it, the fine details of that, and I'll never give that up. We have agents that can do it, but they're usually coming to me when they get into sticky situations. Now Dolly runs circles around me as far as how she gets a listing up. I don't even know how to do it anymore, as far as those kinds of things. And so I know the things that I'm the very best at that I won't give up. From the city perspective, I'm great at, strategic vision. I can see the end, when we make decisions, and a lot of people struggle with that. I think it's easy for me. I don't necessarily care about the execution. It's like, here's the big vision, here's the dream. Now I need to go find somebody who knows how to execute it. And then just working with staff. And I think that's one thing that I think my employees and the staff would say is I'm not a micromanager, that I get out of people's way. We set kind of direction and vision, and, if you're my marketing person, then I'm going to trust you. I may have a comment or two, at some point, but, right now, Dana Baird, she's my media relations person, and, she'll write quotes for me and those and she writes it in my voice. And the first year she had to learn my voice, as far as what would Jeff say in this situation. And now we've been doing it for almost 4 years. She'll send over, here's your quote. And I was like, that's exactly what I said. I mean, she knows my voice. And so.
Well, you're a very consistent personality. You're very consistent in what you have to say. I mean, it's just what would Mr. Rogers say? Type it in, let it fire.
But yeah, that's how I've been able to do it. And it's worked for me. And, just like this yoga studio, my sister, she'll take it and run it. I'll kind of help a lot in the front end, and then she's going to be off to the races.
Mm-hmm. You said something a moment ago that really tripped my mind, which is your hobby is mayor. Will you dive into that? Because some people, I think most people, are seeing mayor as a job. And actually, I think Ale, my wife, said that the other day, is how does he have so many jobs? That's a good point, because I'm getting my ass kicked with a couple of them. So I don't know. So how is it a hobby and not a job?
Well, I don't get paid for being the mayor. So that's number one. And my wife has a little bit of an Amazon addiction. So me just being only a public servant wouldn't work in our household. But I'm the type that I'm always on the go, and I don't know. I can't sit and watch TV. I mean, I'll watch a Texas football game, and those, I like to watch sports and those kinds of things. But, I'm, always looking to kind of do something else. Even if I'm sitting on the couch, I'll be researching something or reading something, and that's just, my mind is always racing. Dana says I've got a look on my face, apparently. Like, I've got this look when my mind's racing, and she'll just look over me and like, what are you thinking about? It's like, oh, I got to shake off my look.
Has it gotten to the point where you don't even start to tell it anymore, because how you're 10 words in and Dana goes, yeah, never mind. I don't care.
She knows. Yeah, exactly. She does the snap. How'd you know?
Oh no, my wife doesn't do the same. You get that where so you get that, and then you get 6 words. So, all right. And then you stop talking and they don't even realize that you started talking.
Same house.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that. Was I being coherent in my train of thought there?
Yes, you were.
So one question I have about your kind of the leverage and being able to spin all the plates is when do you strategically think of, so you have, I don't know how many ventures you have going right now, but do you plan a certain set hours per week for this? Or do you stay pretty strict to, I want to do this much with Cheney, and this much with Mayor, this much with yoga? How do you kind of stay disciplined to that?
Yeah, I wish I had a brilliant response that I could give you as far as the time management piece. But each day is so different for me because, there are some days that are really heavy city. It's like the first and third Tuesday. I mean, we're starting our meetings at 4:00 and they'll go to probably 9:00. So that's gonna be really heavy city. And then, I may have a week where I don't have anything to do that I need to do with the city. And so it usually kind of ebbs and flows, pretty well. My busy season in real estate is obviously, summer months, and that's usually the slow season for city. And so kind of the busy seasons offset each other. But, I'm good at multitasking. So, I mean, it's funny, like if y'all followed me for a day and I actually watched the video, it may interest me because I'll be sitting there and I'll be responding to some city emails and I'm back over here doing this and my sister's calling me about a yoga thing and, then something else is going on and Dana's like, oh, Mason has a baseball game at 2 and, in between innings I'm responding to emails and that's just kind of my life. And I don't go into a certain day saying I'm going to spend 4 hours on real estate. I'm going to spend this.
Do you plan that? To understand at what duration are you planning your day? Are you waking up each day and creating a plan? Do you have a weekly? Do you set up quarterly? How do you plan your time management? I can't imagine it can go too far off of the cuff there. Maybe it can.
My calendar for appointments, can get pretty busy. And so that's the hardest part of it is, just kind of scheduling these blocks of time, when in between that, it's pretty easy for me to catch up on things. Like I'm an inbox zero guy. As far as email, like I look at my wife's email and it gives me anxiety because she's got like 42,000 unread messages and every email she's ever received in her life. And
I just cleared my 50,000 out so she can hit me up if she needs to learn how to do it.
Just to do a mark all as read.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I can't even have I need to have, if my email inbox is more than where you have to scroll, it starts giving me anxiety. So it's like process it, get it out, and complete it kind of thing.
That's a whole nother podcast. Keeping your email clean.
That's a series.
And it's interesting because usually about once a year, I actually hit true inbox zero where it says, woohoo, all your emails are cleared. And then I usually screenshot it and put it on Facebook. And it's been at least over a year since I've done that. And then it's funny that everyone sends me an email and then it's full again. But
you know what? That's funny because you told us that one time I'm an inbox zero. Every day I hear you saying that to me. And I look at it and it's 2 emails, 4, 6. If I showed you my deal every Friday, it's clear inbox because of you. And I've never been able to do it because I always have one thing from 6 months ago that I probably should respond to that I know I'm not going to. But because of you, you've given me this thing to chase. It's impossible. Now I hear that you haven't done it in a year, so I feel much better.
I'm kind of a hoe with my email. I'll give it out for any 10% off. So I have no problem having $7,000 in my email list.
But honestly, that's probably, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it out loud, that's probably how I actually plan a lot of my time, where it's like if one of those inboxes is starting to get a little too full, then I'm like, oh, I need to go respond to some of these city emails or get on it. So, obviously my priority is the real estate business. I mean, that's our bread and butter. And, I got, payroll to make and, employees' goals to make. And so that gets the vast majority of my attention. And a lot of the city stuff kind of blends in with it anyway. When I'm not mayor, I'll still be paying attention to what's going on. I'll still be going to these networking events. I'll still be listening to council meetings. So the incremental time for that is not as much as maybe people would think. And then again, I've just, used it, to kind of master that art of, being able to delegate. And so the first year as mayor was pretty tough. That was a rough year, trying to figure it all out. Everyone wanted to meet the new mayor, developing those relationships. How do I, honestly, this office that we're sitting in. So that was like the first lesson learned, which is I would have a city meeting. So I would get in my car, I'd go over to City Hall, I would do my city meeting, then I would get in my car, then I would drive back to my office, and then have another city. I would do that back and forth a couple times a day, and it was just a time killer. It's like, okay, I've got to eliminate this. And so I was like, I'm going to do all my city meetings at my office, and people are happy to come here, and so someone shows up for a city meeting, boom, let's pop in, let's do it, and then I'm back to work.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing, because when you picture mayor, you picture a guy that's sitting in the office with mahogany and this Frisco square in the center. I mean, what I think of as a mayor is just not what it is. It's
well, you did my marketing. We were very intentional about that during our campaign, which is the last place that you will find me is at City Hall. That I wanted to be, I didn't want to be at my ivory tower looking down upon the city. That you're going to see me out at the restaurants, at the ball field, wearing shorts and flip flops during the summer, and and I think people appreciate that, in this community at least, that they feel comfortable where they could come up and, hey, Jeff's just a normal guy.
I've got a question, because you being inside of politics, not necessarily liking politics, but being very good at it, what is a change that you would like to see to our country's governmental system or political system that would make it a better place?
I struggle with the two-party system because it just naturally puts people at odds. And people go to polar extremes. And so if you look at the very far left and then the very far right, kind of those extreme views, maybe 10 to 15% on this side and 10 to 15% on this side. And then the 70% that are kind of in between those, they're like, I'm out. Like these two fight and they get all the attention. And they have to be so opposite of each other that it just creates this division versus just this mentality of, hey, let's make better decisions, and let's come together and bounce each other ideas. That's what I love about a city council, is that it's nonpartisan. So we have 7 people. You're not representing Republicans. You're not representing Democrats. You're representing 200,000 residents of a community. And we can have honest dialogue and debate. And, that is one of my goals. And so I'll share this story, which is I had this reporter that was coming in and he was trying to do a gotcha interview, and we knew it. And our city attorney was worried about it. Our director of communication, Dana, was worried about it. She's like, he's coming in to do this gotcha interview. They sat there and tried to prep me on all this. And basically what they were trying to do is they were stating that because more often than not, Frisco voted 6-0 on issues that we did not have diversity of thought, that we should start seeing 4-3 votes, 5-2 votes. And that proved that basically in their minds there's fighting. And so therefore there's diversity of thought. So he came in, he's doing his interview, and he's ready to do this big gotcha and this big story on Frisco. And essentially what I told him when he basically did that gotcha question is, tell me, Mayor Cheney, why you're always voting 6-0. Y'all all are the same person. And what I told him is my job as the leader of the organization is to overcome as many objections as I can. That's how you get to better outcomes. And so, yeah, I could sit there and I could read the room on a particular topic. And if I could see that, oh, this one is, a 4-3 vote, and it's going to stay a 4-3 vote, we can basically shut it down. We can shut it down. We might as well vote. There's no point even having further discussions. The 3 people that are against it, sorry, too bad. 4 is better than 3, you lose. But is that better outcomes? And the answer is no. What if we could continue the conversation and one of those 3 votes that was a no, we can overcome what they were against? And all of a sudden they became a yes. And then what about the 5th person? What if we could overcome what they had an objection with and they became a yes? And then the last person, if we could overcome that last person's objection, all of a sudden it's a 6-0 vote. Isn't that a better outcome? Because we've now overcome everyone's objection. We had honest dialogue and debate on it. And that's how decisions in Frisco are made. And people that watch our meetings, they see it over and over and over again. I'm not going to let, and sometimes it does happen where someone just, absolutely, I cannot vote for this for these specific reasons, and there's nothing you can do to change my mind. But that rarely happens. And so when I respond to him to say that it's my job to get to a 6-0 vote, we have diversity of thought, and that's how we're going to get to better outcomes and represent every single person in this community because they all have different perspectives. And then he just kind of sat there, and he's like, okay, thank you. He packed up his bags, and he never wrote the article.
Oh, wow. It was a complete hit piece.
Yeah. And it never published it. And so he kind of didn't have a response, to that.
Well, and it's easy right now, right? Because Frisco is so booming and prosperous and going the right direction. I think you and other of the city leaders have set up a pretty clear vision as to what Frisco is going to be. And if it comes to fruition, it's going to be it is a great place, but it's going to be a next level place. And right now it does. I would imagine there is almost a mitigation from your point of not letting it become a gold mine town. Gold rush, boom, it gets big. And then 20 years from now, it looks like Main Street in Garland. And it's just a bunch of old big lots are out of business. That I have to imagine is a pretty heavy toll of finding that balance of people. And you've got quite the responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, we think about that a lot. I mean, we think about the 20, 30 years when no one remembers who Mayor Cheney was and all those kinds of things. What is Frisco going to look like? And we've been very strategic about that. I mean, thinking about long-term sustainability. So you talk about the big lots, right? So even our big box retailers, we have an ordinance that says the facade of those has to be broken into multiple facades. So for instance, if a super Target, for whatever reason, goes out of business, all of a sudden it could easily be converted to 5 different stores and look natural and normal to create that kind of flexibility. We knew that people were going to value more open space and commercial developments even before COVID. And so that was one of the first things I did when I was elected, because that's one of my passions. It was the first of its kind in the entire country. We mandated that all commercial developments have to be part of our park master planning, and they have to have 10% of their commercial development committed to open space. And now we're looking smarter than we were, because now all developers are requiring that. But it's been in place now in Frisco for 4 years. We did little things, like one thing that pulls down a community faster than anything is, you look at Plano and other communities, is as they developed, there'd be a gas station on all 4 corners of a major intersection. And then 2 of them would survive and 2 of them would die. And you'd have 2 dead gas stations. And then you had to go basically redo them environmentally, and they became eyesores and those kinds of things. So Frisco has an ordinance that no intersection could have more than 2. So we just kind of essentially got past that problem from the very beginning. The first 2 in kind of win. Great, good for you. And then that intersection's done, because we don't have to deal with that problem down the road. So those kinds of things you can put into place really early.
I never thought about that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Are there any right now? So were there any right now, like with 4?
No, that's been in place for a while. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I never thought about how many things are happening on the backside of it where you'd have no idea. It's kind of
what about
Jedi.
What about the birds?
Tell us about the birds, Cheney. There are for those who are watching, if you're in Frisco, on an intersection on El Dorado and 423, there's this intersection that twice a year 400 million birds come for the largest spectacle of Olympic bird shitting on car competition in the history of humanity.
I haven't solved that one. I don't know how to get rid of the birds.
Well, you brought a Chipotle, so kudos.
That's a start.
Funny story with that Chipotle, because that's near my house, and there, you notice the park behind it? That's part of our new ordinance.
Oh, cool.
So that wouldn't have been there without, that was one of the first developments that came with that new ordinance. But anyway, so my kids are super unimpressed that their dad is the mayor. Literally the only thing they've ever given me credit for being on city council for 9 years and now the mayor for 4 years, is bringing a Chipotle near our house. And that was kind of like, Dad, good job on that one. You did good.
Zach gave you that much. Good job.
Kids have potential.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything until we get a serious mountain bike trail in Frisco. That's when I say good job. I mean, you've changed my family's life, but we still have a pretty bad mountain bike trail here.
We're working on that. Park's getting master planned, and It's on the horizon. Stay tuned.
Do we end with that?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, yeah, I think we should end with that. I could talk. We have spoken for many, 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 many hours before I could do this for an infinite amount of time, but we need to end this. Mountain bike trail, Frisco.
Trail.
That's it. That was the mic drop. That's what you were waiting for.
That's what
I'm glad I didn't open with that.
Oh, this would have been short. Yeah, it would have been a trailer. No, but really, I just want to say we have done a gamut of work together, from messaging to branding to website to videos to real estate to basically everything we offer. We've gone with it and done that with you, and we legitimately would be in a completely different place if it wasn't for you. And I am just so thrilled to call you a friend and just very honored. And I can't say thank you enough.
Yeah, from a professional and the connections that you've given us, but even just there's one time where we went around a circle and everybody was given their one word for the new year. Like, what's your word for this year? And you kind of told me what mine was.
Oh,
and
I don't even remember.
It
this.
was when we were having drinks with the LSF partners.
Okay.
At the whiskey.
Oh, there's no telling what I said if we were having whiskey.
Yeah,
I wasn't there, right? It was over
No, you were
at
there.
City Works.
you were there.
No, I remember the Bottles and Bond place. Yeah, I remember that meeting,
Bottles
right?
and Bun, yeah.
Oh,
I don't-
that's right.
I don't-
But
remember
you
the word.
told me what my word was, and it was delegation, and it was so perfectly timed for where we were at. I mean, that next year was when we really started bringing more people on, and the idea. I mean, you already reiterated basically the conversation we had, but just find somebody who can do your job better than you and trust them and get out of the way, and that has always stuck with me since that conversation.
And it's a good reminder to us today, right? I think there are a lot of things that rehashing the very valuable conversation of leverage and getting out of the way. I think we're at that point again where we can feel that next element of growth, and we're at that same. It's a different cusp, but the same challenge. Get out of the way, keep the sales coming in, let it grow itself. You know how it runs. There are a lot of people better than us. So
Well, it's been a two-way street, so we appreciate you guys too. And we love seeing y'all be successful and grow and do your thing.
couldn't do without you.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.